All right, let's kick off this deep dive with a story that feels like it's straight out of a movie. We're talking about DeepSeek, a Chinese AI startup.
Yeah.
Yeah, you heard that right. They're taking on the big guys in Silicon Valley, the Goliaths of tech.
And they're winning.
And they're winning. Yeah, we've got some incredible articles here that break down how they're doing it, how they're using this thing called lean thinking.
Yeah, lean thinking. It's basically about doing more with less, which is, kind of a revolutionary concept in an industry known for, well, excess.
Excess is a good word for it.
Yeah, right.
So DeepSeek, let's just get right into it. How is this relatively unknown company suddenly shaking things up?
Well, their AI assistant, R1, is causing quite a stir. It's challenging the status quo. And what's really interesting is that they're doing this by going against the grain of what we usually see in tech, the bigger the better mentality.
Right. Google, Microsoft, these massive companies with their billion-dollar budgets.
Exactly. And then you have DeepSeek coming in and proving that you don't need all of that to make a real impact in AI.
I read somewhere that even NVIDIA's stock took a hit because of DeepSeek.
Is that right? Yeah, there were definitely some ripples. You see, NVIDIA is the top dog when it comes to AI hardware, the chips, the processors, all that. But then DeepSeek comes along and shows that you can get comparable or even better results with their lean approach.
So investors are like, wait a minute, do we really need all this expensive hardware?
Exactly. DeepSeek really threw a wrench in things.
So how are they pulling this off?
Lean thinking, like I said, it's all about maximizing efficiency. And one of the key ways they're doing that is by relying heavily on open source technologies.
Open source?
Yeah, so these are tools and software that are basically free for anyone to use and modify. Anyone can contribute to them. It's a whole different world compared to companies like Google or Microsoft that tend to hoard their technology and keep everything proprietary.
DeepSeek is choosing to use what's already out there, what's freely available.
Yep. It's a brilliant strategy when you think about it. They're tapping into this massive pool of resources, talent, all of it, without spending a fortune on development.
Smart. Really smart.
And it's working. Their AI R1 is achieving some pretty remarkable things, even with a fraction of the resources their competitors have.
That's incredible. I mean, it sounds like they're rewriting the rules of the game here. And in these articles, they actually lay out 10 key lessons we can learn from their success.
And lessons, yeah. And they're not just for tech companies either. These are principles that can apply to any field where innovation is important.
So should we dive into these lessons then? What's the first one?
Well, they call it precision beats scale. Basically, instead of trying to create some all-purpose AI, something that tries to do everything, DeepSeek decided to focus. They laser focused on specific problems, specific areas where they could excel.
So they're like specialists, not generalists.
That's a good way to put it.
Right.
And it's paid off. They've become masters of solving these really niche problems with pinpoint accuracy.
Can you give me an example of what you mean?
Sure. Early on, they developed an AI model to analyze medical images for a very specific type of cancer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Instead of trying to build something that could handle all medical imaging, they zeroed in on this one challenge.
Interesting.
And the accuracy they achieved, it actually surpassed some of the leading healthcare AI systems out there.
Wow, that's incredible.
It really goes to show that you don't have to be everything to everyone to be successful.
It's about focusing your energy, your resources where they matter most.
Absolutely. And that ties into another one of their lessons. Efficiency is the new innovation.
What do they mean by that?
Basically, they're proving that you don't need a massive budget to be innovative. Look at their use of open source tools. It lets them build and adapt so quickly.
Without having to start from scratch every time.
Right. And their team structure, they keep it lean, minimal bureaucracy, maximum agility.
So they're not weighed down by all the, the corporate layers that can sometimes stifle innovation.
Exactly. It's fascinating, isn't it? They've taken what some might see as limitations and turned them into advantages.
It makes you wonder if being a bit under the radar actually helped them in those early days.
Oh, I definitely think so. While all the big players were busy, fighting for the spotlight, DeepSeek was quietly innovating. No pressure, no constant scrutiny, just the freedom to experiment and take risks.
They had the space to really develop their own unique approach without being swayed by every trend that came along.
It's like they were the tortoises in the race. Slow and steady, but ultimately they were the ones who crossed the finish line first.
With a fraction of the resources, too. Amazing.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Have the big companies become complacent? Are they too reliant on their massive resources?
And are they losing sight of what it truly means to be innovative?
big questions. Questions a lot of people are starting to ask. And DeepSeek's success is definitely shaking things up, forcing everyone to reassess their strategies.
This is all incredibly intriguing. There's so much more to unpack here, especially those 10 lessons from DeepSeek's playbook.
Yeah, we've only just scratched the surface.
Okay, so let's dig deeper into those 10 lessons, those sort of like secrets to DeepSeek's success.
Oh, yeah, their playbook.
Exactly. So we've covered precision beats scale, and efficiency is the new innovation. What's next on the list?
Well, they talk a lot about data, specifically how data is the key differentiator, which might sound obvious, but, it's not just about having tons of data.
It's not just about big data.
Right. A lot of companies are obsessed with gathering as much data as possible, but DeepSeek is more strategic about it. They really prioritize quality over quantity.
So it's like instead of just hoarding data, they're being very selective, making sure they have the right data for their needs.
That's it. They're curating the data. Almost like, think about building a house. You wouldn't just dump a random pile of materials on the site and hope for the best.
You need the right kind of wood, the right bricks, everything chosen for a specific purpose.
Exactly. DeepSeek treats data the same way. They're very deliberate, and this kind of connects to their idea of democratization of AI is non-negotiable.
Democratization. What do they mean by that?
So DeepSeek believes that AI shouldn't be this exclusive thing, locked away in big tech companies or research labs.
Right.
They want to make these technologies accessible to everyone.
Okay, I like that idea. But how are they actually doing that?
They're building user-friendly platforms, interfaces that anyone can use, even if you don't have a deep technical background. You don't need to be a coding whiz.
So it's about simplifying AI, making it easier to understand and use.
Yeah, and they're involved in education initiatives too, open source projects, trying to spread AI literacy as much as possible.
Wow, so they're really trying to empower people, not just build fancy tech, but actually help people use it.
That's a big part of their mission. They see AI as a tool for good, something that can benefit society as a whole. And that brings us to another important lesson, particularly relevant in today's world. AI is not just a tech race, it's a trust race.
Trust, that's a huge issue.
Absolutely. And DeepSeek recognizes this. They know that the future of AI depends on building trust with users.
So it's not enough to have the best algorithms, the most powerful AI.
Right. You need transparency. People need to understand how the technology works.
Right. No more black boxes.
Exactly. And they're very upfront about their data practices. They're engaging in conversations about the ethical implications of AI.
So they're thinking about the big picture, not just the tech itself, but the impact it has on society.
Yeah, they're not shying away from those difficult questions. They understand that AI has the potential to change our lives in profound ways, and they want to make sure those changes are positive.
Okay, so we've got data, democratization, trust. What other lessons did they highlight?
Well, one that's really at the heart of DeepSeek's story is overcoming the status quo. They've proven that you don't need to be a giant corporation. You don't need Silicon Valley backing to succeed in AI.
They're like the underdogs who came out on top.
Exactly. They challenged the establishment, showed that innovation can come from anywhere.
That's inspiring, especially for startups, for anyone who's trying to make a difference in the world.
It's a powerful message. And it leads nicely into their final lesson, the one that kind of ties everything together. The future of AI is collaborative.
Collaborative. Interesting.
So DeepSeek is not trying to build a walled garden around their technology.
They're not trying to keep everything to themselves?
Not at all. They're actively looking for partners, for collaborations. They want to foster a more open and connected AI ecosystem.
So sharing knowledge, sharing resources, that's the future they see.
Precisely. They recognize that the real power of AI lies in its ability to connect, to work with other technologies and platforms. It's not about one company dominating the field.
It's about everyone working together.
Exactly. And by embracing that collaborative spirit, they're helping to create a more diverse and vibrant AI landscape, one where innovation can truly flourish, and the benefits can be shared more widely.
That's a really refreshing perspective. I mean, it challenges so much of what we see in the tech industry today.
Yeah.
The winner-takes-all mentality.
Right. It's not about being the biggest, the fastest, or the richest. It's about being smarter, more adaptable, more collaborative.
DeepSeek's success story really makes you think, maybe there's a different path to success, one that's built on efficiency and collaboration, a genuine commitment to making a positive impact.
I think they've shown that there is. DeepSeek is a great example of how a small but resourceful team can achieve amazing things by focusing on values over vanity.
Their story has given us a lot to think about. How can we apply these lessons to our own lives? So we've spent this deep dive really unpacking DeepSeek's story and all those lessons they've highlighted. But what does it all mean for us? Can we actually apply these principles of lean thinking to our own lives? Can we really do more with less in a world that's always pushing us to want more?
That's the big question, isn't it? And honestly, I think the answer is yes. Lean thinking, it's not just about business, it's a way of thinking, It's about being resourceful.
It's like a life hack almost, making the most of what you have.
Exactly. And it can apply to anything. Your career, for example. Focus on building skills that are adaptable, that are valuable across different jobs or industries.
Okay, yeah. So instead of trying to learn everything, you focus on what's really essential.
Right. And there are tons of free or low-cost resources out there for learning new things. Don't underestimate the power of networking, too. Building strong connections can open so many doors. It's like a different mindset, right? Instead of constantly chasing the next big thing or, trying to keep up with everyone else, you focus on what you can do with what you've got.
It's about optimizing what you already have.
Yeah.
And that can apply to your personal life, too, Maybe you adopt a more minimalist approach to your stuff. Focus on quality over quantity.
Less clutter, more meaning.
Yeah, and think about ways to repurpose things, upcycle. We don't always need to buy new. And, maybe shift your focus from material things to experiences, the memories you make.
It's funny, it's like DeepSeek's approach to AI is almost like a life philosophy.
It is. When you're forced to work within constraints to be resourceful, it can spark so much creativity you come up with solutions you never would have thought of otherwise.
Necessity is the mother of invention.
Right.
And DeepSeek, they didn't have the luxury of just throwing money at every problem. They had to get creative. And look what they achieved. It's really inspiring. If a small startup like DeepSeek can make such a huge impact with limited resources, just imagine what we can do if we apply those same principles to our own lives, our own work.
It's like shifting from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, seeing limitations as opportunities.
Exactly. It's about realizing that true progress isn't always about more. It's about being smart, being resourceful, making the most of what we already have.
Well, DeepSeek's story has definitely given us all a lot to think about. A new way to look at innovation and success.
It's a reminder that we don't always have to follow the crowd. That sometimes the most groundbreaking ideas, the most meaningful achievements come from those who dare to do things differently.
Absolutely. And that wraps up our deep dive into DeepSeek and their incredible journey. Thanks for joining us, and keep those minds curious,